I think there's also a study that shows that most 20-year-olds and older teens have no intention of getting married anytime soon. Even dating, even having sex, right?
I
Like,
know.
I think girls are the problem more these days. Guys don't care about this stuff anymore because they can just, yeah, it's too easy to just stay in your room.
Jennifer, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, my first and most important question that I'm going to ask you is, how are you doing? Like, actually, for real, how are you doing?
So a real one, so not like the typical fine answer.
Not the like, hey, how are you? Just like a,
Yeah.
hey, how are you really?
So I think I'm facing this week feeling more hopeful than the last two. I've had a really rough couple weeks.
Do you want to tell us why?
Sure. Without going into so many details, I have a 16-year-old. If you know anything about 16-year-old girls, they're very difficult. So mine has been giving me a lot of trouble. Just girls are under so much pressure with social media and comparisons and feeling accepted and desired and not missing out on things. And kids will do whatever it takes to not feel those things. And so mine is struggling with that. So she's gotten herself into some trouble. And then my mom also fell and broke 6 of her ribs. So that was fun too. It was all in the same night, like the major things that happened in the last couple weeks.
Wow.
So I'm getting over it now, though.
So you're feeling more hopeful now. And your daughter's okay?
She is okay. Yeah. She totaled her car.
Mm.
And it could have been so much worse. She wrecked into 2 other cars. It could have been worse. So I'm hoping that this was a wake-up call for her to kind of change her behavior and her path. I hope. I really hope.
Yeah. Hello, my friend. Before we jump straight into the episode, I would love to share the sponsors of this podcast. And the sponsors of this podcast are all the businesses that I've created that are really part of the ecosystem that run this whole thing. And at the top of that list is Patreon. Patreon is the home of our exclusive community where we do bonus episodes, live streams, Q&As, and merch discounts, and so much more. Patreon is the number one way to support this podcast and to support my mental health nonprofit called You Are Loved. Next, we have my clothing brand called Shop for Everybody. Every hat and every t-shirt you see me wear on every single episode of this podcast is from Shop for Everybody. It's the home of For the Dads, For the Moms, all Something for Everybody merch, and it's the home of all You Are Loved merch. So that's shopforeverybody.com. And the last thing is my sports performance brand called Champions Adjust. Again, if you see anything Champions Adjust related, it's all found at champsadjust.com. It also has its own podcast. We also do a sports show through Champions Adjust. And if you're looking for any mindset or mental skills classes, they can all be found at champsadjust.com. And so if you want to stay up to date on everything that we're doing here with all of the businesses that I'm involved in, please go to aaronmashbitz.com and sign up for our weekly newsletter. Thank you. Now, on to the episode, completely uninterrupted and ad-free. Here we go. What sort of discussions do you have around that stuff, around social media, around body image? You know, because the prevalence of OnlyFans, I'm not sure if you've thought about that a lot. I'm sure you have. But like, if you look at some of these, I'm going to call them models, a charitable take, I guess, but these women that promote OnlyFans, they make this life seem so glamorous. And like the only way that you can live this life of freedom and money and all of this is if you basically sell your body online. And that's basically the worst message you can give a young girl, I think, at least, don't know personally, who's already going through so many different things. Like I was a young boy once, and we feel horrible about our body most of the time until we don't, until we start to grow into it and things happen. And I imagine, and it might be a little more complicated for a female because of social media and that sort of pressure. And then now on top of that, they see this glamour of OnlyFans. There's not a real question here, but what sort of conversations, if any, are you having with your daughter? How do you think about that with both of them? Anything like that?
Yeah, so it's funny. First of all, my daughters are 18 and 16. They're very, very different people. My 16-year-old is definitely the one who would be drawn to something like OnlyFans. So it's essentially just sex work glamorized, right?
Right.
prostitution glamorized.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really sad because, yes, girls are struggling so much with, of course, social media. Everybody is comparing their body, their whatever the world perceives them as being to anybody else when it's all fake. I think something like OnlyFans is attractive because it gets you the validation that you're looking for. It gets you the acceptance that you're desiring. But at the end of the day, it will lead to massive amounts of unfulfillment. And I think what I'm trying to teach my daughter, because she is so involved in that kind of scene, not that she does that, but I could see that being a possibility because it is easy. It's like money, it's good money, and people like you. Who wouldn't want that? It's easy. It's easy. But I kind of talked to her about high value type behaviors. I tried to ground biblical principles in her without being preachy. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard because teenagers don't really care about that stuff. Their friends matter. Their friends' opinions matter much more than yours. And so it's really hard. So trying to model that behavior and have as many conversations as she initiates. Like when she initiates the conversation, that's when I go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, I think a lot of the problems with young people, and not a problem, just like life experience, right? They don't have sort of the long-term vision of the consequences of their actions in a good or a bad way, right?
Yeah.
Like, sporadically saying yes to their friend that asked them to go to this thing, which could be a great event, instead of just saying, no, I want to stay at home. Like, rash decision could be great. You could meet some awesome people and have a nice time. But then at the same time, we could make a decision when we're 18 that we super regret when we're 21. And now those things are on the internet forever. And I've just, showed my butthole to a million people. Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that never goes away.
No, it never goes away. And not that I don't know. I don't know if everyone's going to always bring it up to you all the time, but it could be complicated in your next life if you want to have a job or things of that nature. You have kids that are going to see that stuff and their friends are going to make fun of their friends. And so that's really hard to think about as a young person, like these compounding downstream effects. I have a tough time thinking about that now as an adult. Like, you think about it with food all the time. Like if I eat this donut right now today, it's not going to affect me in an hour.
So
but if I keep doing it over and over and over again, it's going to affect me in a year, 2 years, 3 years. So I don't know. It's just hard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is. And what I find, I think, obviously, so I work with men, not girls, but having my girls gives me both sides of the story. But I think, and I can say this from personal experience because of them, and what I see in a lot of other girls is that when you have a good and dedicated father in your life, in the household, I think the incidence of that happening is far less. Fathers are really, really important to a girl's upbringing and self-value and self-worth. They can do things that a mother truly cannot do. My girls were not raised by a father, and I can, as much as I tried to play both roles for them, there's only so much I can do. Every child truly needs a father. With the boys too, for boys who aren't raised by dads in the household, or, even in a divorce situation that has 50-50 kind of custody plan going, they're more likely to not finish school, be involved in violent behavior, all kinds of things. It's fathers are so important.
Yeah. I've been thinking about that a lot. I have a brand new son at home.
Yeah.
And I just want to be the absolute best version of myself I can be, and try to instill the values in him that I find most important. And when you think about young men specifically, when a young man loses a male role model, their life, projection for being great declines dramatically.
Yeah.
And so I think it's our job in society to actively encourage men to be mentors to young men. But there's also this weird social stigma because of, I don't know, maybe people like Michael Jackson who hung around young boys in a weird way. Now that if I'm a 22-year-old guy who just graduated college and I don't have a wife or a kid yet, but I have a lot of love to give, and I want to go hang out with a 12, 13-year-old boy because I want to show him what I've learned, and that could be deemed as you being a weird creep.
Yes.
And that's fucked up.
Yeah,
excuse my
totally.
language, because this 22-year-old kid has a lot of love to give, and maybe he's experienced a ton of stuff at college, or he went abroad, or he did this like weird internship for 3 or 4 years, and he wants to teach this little boy, 13, 14-year-old boy who maybe doesn't have a father, isn't part of a community, or hasn't been on a sports team. He wants to show him some lessons, and then that kid goes to a community or wherever they might find a mentorship or a role model, and they're like, you want to what? You want to hang out with
Yeah.
a boy? Like, that can't be something that we produce in society, because yeah, of course, some men have done some terrible things. Sure, great.
Of course.
Like,
Will always be the case.
yes, always. But that's like not the men that I've met most of my life have been great.
Yeah.
And I think that's the message we need to get across.
Yeah, I
Anyways.
think like especially today, I think mentorship, male to male mentorship is incredibly crucial. I mean, obviously masculinity is declining, even though I think it is going, I think we're going into revival of it.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. I'm hopeful.
Okay.
I think I see that. I'm sure you do too, maybe.
Yeah.
But Christianity too. I think Christianity and traditional masculinity are coming back. But I think maybe I sometimes think of myself in a little bubble, and that's all I see because that's all I concentrate on. I think overall, still we're in a really dangerous space where men are being conditioned to be weak, and being a real male is looked down upon and kind of forced into silence and shame. And yeah, so mentorship of real male role models is really, really important, because the boys of today are going to be the leaders of tomorrow. And if we have a bunch of weak men as leaders, that's when we will fall as a nation.
Yeah. I mean, outside of my mom and dad, sports taught me how to be a man. And what do sports have? They have coaches.
Yeah.
And those coaches were either good or bad. I didn't have all great coaches, but you can also see a person and see, oh, that's the reverse role model. That's what I don't want to be. And then you have that example of what I do want to be, or what I could strive to be. And that's extremely, extremely powerful. But before, we're obviously going to talk way more about masculinity, but I want to backtrack for a second, because you talked about your daughters not growing up with a father.
Yeah.
How did that happen? What's the story there, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, of course. So my story, which led me into ultimately coaching men on masculinity, started because I was a hopeless romantic, toxic people pleaser.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah. And if you think about it, it is the worst combination you could possibly, it's like a recipe for disaster. So I got myself into very bad situations, not just personally, but also professionally. Abusive relationships, one of those being the girl's dad. Not physically abusive with that one, just really verbally abusive, and high amounts of infidelity. I ended up divorcing him when my 16-year-old was 6 months old. And then I didn't learn from my mistakes. I continued that pattern of choosing people for my life and situations that were very toxic. And I consider myself as being toxic then too, because I was the one making the decisions to enter into these various relationships, business or personal. And so I eventually hit a rock bottom. I was in a relationship with a man. Thankfully, I was not married to him. I was being physically abused, verbally abused, conned out of money. Ultimately, $1 million was taken from me. And then my son, who has special needs, was kind of he was on the receiving end of some of this verbal abuse as well. It slowly started happening to where I didn't really notice it at first, and then it just became so prevalent. And then he was hit on the head by this person. And then I used that as my wake-up call. I cannot live this life anymore. There's no way that I can continue putting my family at risk because of my own toxic decisions, out of fear, out of a lack of identity, self-worth, self-respect. I had no idea who I was until I was 37 years old. And I molded myself into whoever I could be to be accepted, kind of like my daughter is doing now, which is really scary, which is why I'm harping on this so much with her, but I molded myself to fit whatever relationship I was in, whatever room I was in, whatever conversation I was having, just to be accepted. I had an irrational fear of not being accepted. And so I took the time over the last 6 years to really get to know myself through getting deep into the Word of God. I was always a believer of Jesus, but I was never a follower. I think there's a huge difference. I had a therapist, I had a life coach, I had business mentorship. I did all of the things. I read all of the books, I did all of the podcasts. I just really, and the thing is, I stayed alone. And I became the mother that I needed to be for especially my girls. My son has a good dad. But I needed to become the mom that I needed to be instead of that hopeless romantic people pleaser that was never going to go anywhere. So I think my experience in a lack of healthy males really shaped my passion for helping males become the best version of themselves that they can be for the sake of their children, their marriages, and their lives, just how they lead their own lives, ultimately getting them to a place of fulfillment and alignment with who they were created to be.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
Thanks.
I'm glad you've transformed or evolved into this person, and I'm glad I found you on the internet.
Me too.
And happy that I found you on the internet, and we also happen to live close to each other.
Yeah.
So we're doing it in studio podcast, which is rare these days. So
I know it's my first time, so I'm really excited.
There we go. So you had this need for acceptance.
Yeah.
When did this start? Did you figure out sort of where the genesis of that is, or was it just being a person in the world that you wanted to fit in? You wanted a sense of belonging like all people do, or was there some sort of moment in time, or was it, I don't know, anything like that?
So I've thought about this a lot, and people always blame their parents, right?
Sure.
And I could do that, but I don't. I think my parents are good parents. They've been married for 56 years. My dad, he was a physician in the military. He was a really, really smart person. I say was because he has Alzheimer's now and he's in memory care, which is very sad. But he was a very value-driven dad, but he was not encouraging. He was a really good dad. So I don't want to say anything otherwise. But he didn't teach me worth. He didn't teach me my value, even though he had values that he instilled in me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think my first boyfriend in high school, when I was in 10th grade, started me in this pattern of these unhealthy relationships, choosing people that I thought might depend on me and make me feel accepted. And those were the kinds of people I searched for. And the people that are like that tend to be controlling or narcissistic or weak or passive, like any of those things and combinations thereof. And so it just took me to get to that final wake up call to change and realize that I needed to find out who I was and what mattered to me and what kind of life I wanted to live, which was not the kind of life that I'd ever lived up to that point. So.
Was your dad tough?
He was extremely tough.
Yeah.
And not very emotional. So everything, like, he really meant the best.
Sure.
But he was very critical. We had some conversations later in life, and he felt really, really bad for being so critical. It horrified him, actually. He cried. And so that was very healing. But he, military physician, unemotional. You can imagine he was very hard.
Yeah. In your younger days, did you know that he loved you? Or was that tough to see because of how tough he was?
I always knew that he loved me. I just think even at that age, it's almost like I realized that he didn't know how to love. 'Cause he did the same thing with my mom. And then my mom became an over coddler with me. So she kind of went overboard with the care. And I think the combination of the lack and then the overboard caring was just not good for me.
Yeah. Well, probably the recipe then for your need to feel like you belonged and for people to accept you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think as you get to know me, Jennifer, I basically relate everything back to sports.
Of course.
So when I think about a good sports coach, which is like some of the examples I've used on me trying to be a good dad, is that the best coaches I ever had were really, really, really tough on me, but there was an underlying sense that I knew that they really fucking loved me.
Yeah.
That when this game was over, that even if I played so bad or I lost the team, the game or whatever, that they would still want to like go out to eat with me, or they'd still call me the next day, or they'd still send me a card on Hanukkah or Christmas or whatever, because I knew they loved me so much. And that's what I feel like some of the best teachers, mentors, coaches, whatever, like there's still a need for toughness. Like I'm going to be tough with my son.
Yes.
But he's going to know no matter what, hopefully, God willing, that I love him regardless of anything that he produces or the values that he has, or the thing that he wins. But I want him to be great if he wants to be great at whatever that might be, whether that's like, playing chess or baseball or whatever the case may be. But I think that's like where some people miss being able to express that love first and then being tough on top of that. Because if I just start and I want to coach you on something and I just start fucking screaming at you, like maybe we'll get to a result, like maybe you'll do it. Like maybe, but it won't be as good if like we get to know each other first. I show that I care, that I want the best for you, and then you kind of mess up, and I'm like, hey, this is where we could be better. And you're like, I receive that, and I think that's important also.
Right, you have to establish that foundation of trust and love first before, and I think it's so funny because if I think about my dad in that way, I know that he loved me, and he loves me, and it's so funny because I have become so much like my dad. And I have to pull myself back. It's easy for me to get in this mode of parenting with my own kids to where I feel like I need to be in control. And I've really worked hard on that the last few years to pull back and just operate from a place of showing grace while encouraging to be the best that they can be. I think it's a really hard balance to find sometimes.
Yeah. Well, parenting is just hard, like in general.
Yeah. And there's no rule book or playbook for parenting, and every kid is so different, and you have to parent them completely different too.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
I'll let you know when my son hits like 10 what he's like. Because I coached a 13-year-old baseball team, and that's when I feel like boys like start to get a little bit of testosterone. They start to get a little bit of they start to get a little ballsy.
Yep.
They start asking kind of interesting questions, which could be way more interesting now depending on what sort of information they're privy to. Like there's no saying that an 8-year-old boy can't see his first pair of boobs.
Oh, of course.
You know what I mean? It's
Guarantee.
like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You
can find anything. You can find anything.
And that's not good for the innocence of that and what it could potentially lead to, but we have to get on that sort of train. We can in a second. But so you're in this relationship 6 years ago. How did you leave that? Because leaving abusive relationships can be extremely, extremely hard. People are like, oh, why did you just get up and go? It's like, it's not that fucking easy. But maybe, I don't know what you did, but.
So it's not easy. And people do ask me that all the time. Even my son's dad, who we're great friends, he asks me all the time, like, how could you just like sit there and stay there? Like, and you don't understand the dynamic when you're in a situation like that. It is, first of all, those situations are usually high highs and low lows. So during the highs, you really become dependent on this person, and they make you feel like you're special. And then they drag you down, and it's just a never ending cycle. So that kind of keeps you staying. And then there's also the fear. And so when my son got involved, though, that was like God slapping me in the face. Like, get the hell out of there today. So literally, I ran away that night.
After your son got smacked.
Yeah, seriously. Like, my daughter had a jiu-jitsu practice. And I had previously packed the car with just what we would all need for like the next week or so. Just to let you know how bad this got. So I lived in Dallas when I met him. We long distance dated for 2 years before I moved to a different state, which I won't say because I'm not allowed to. I moved my whole family to another state, plus my parents into separate houses. So I moved them to a city that was like 2 hours away from me within that state. So I ran away, went to their house, and said, here's what we're doing. We're leaving. We're going back to Dallas. And so I was in kind of survival mode at first. I was terrified because, again, I was attached to him and I didn't want to leave him, even though I knew I had to. I was super attached. I was devastated. But I did what I had to do. I got their house on the market, sold it, found us 2 houses here. So like my parents live across the street from me still.
Beautiful.
Or my dad's in memory care now, but and I honestly grieved him for a year.
Yeah.
I cried myself to sleep for a year, knowing that I wanted him so badly, but I knew that I could not ever entertain that idea again. And through the process of finding myself, one day I just stopped caring. And that was when I think I felt healed. I can talk about him now and feel nothing, which sounds uncaring maybe. It's not from a place of hatred or anything like that. I forgive him. But it doesn't cause me grief or pain or trauma or anything like that anymore. But I took some time.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Now you look at your life right now, today. Did you expect it to be doing this, talking about this, being on a podcast, starting your own podcast, working with men? Is this the life you envisioned for yourself, or, what's that vibe like?
Definitely not. So as I was going through the process of healing myself and kind of figure out who I was, I started writing a lot. So I love to write. That's my number one love. Besides the stock market, I love the stock market. It's actually my passion. But I started writing a lot, and people found it really inspirational. I found it therapeutic. It was inspirational though. And then, several people told me you should be a coach. So I originally wanted to coach the type of woman that I was. So
originally you wanted to coach women.
Yeah. So I wanted to find driven people pleasers who had so much potential but were stuck. Right. And for whatever reason, it didn't work for me. I was getting nowhere with it. And I kept, as I got deeper into the Word of God, like I said, I was always a believer. I always prayed, but it didn't really mean anything to me. And so I got deeper into the Word of God and what it actually meant. And as I did that, I saw what real relationships were supposed to be, masculinity, femininity, what things meant, like kind of like God's playbook for life. And it just really got me passionate for men. And if you look at society and what society has done to men ever since the beginning of feminism, which destroyed everything, the fact that men are so full of shame now and are so confused and don't know how to act around anyone or any given situation, it really made me upset, because I think even my experiences with men could have been different if I had been led properly, if they had been led properly, And so I am truly passionate about men, because they are the backbone and the foundation of society, no matter what women want to slap me for saying that.
Do you get a lot of backlash from women specifically?
I did at the beginning. I don't as much anymore, because I think only the conservative Christian women are following me. The liberal women do not like me, but they don't come at me anymore as much as they used to.
That's interesting, because I've found that it's like this idea versus stated and revealed preferences. So people will state, liberal people will state they want this, 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 and this, but then who they're actually dating or talking to is their revealed preference, and it's a fucking strong, masculine dude who fucking has got a beard and hunts or whatever the case may be. And it's like, so we can state all of this stuff. We can be political correctness, all this bullshit, whatever it is. But then what's really happening in our day-to-day is that women do want a strong masculine man. They want to feel safe and protected emotionally, physically, financially. They want to be provided for. Now, all relationships are different, and I get the dynamics can change. Totally, but there is this idea that women want to submit to a man. And you might state other things so that people think you're like cool or progressive or whatever the fucking case may be. But if you actually talk to them, and what they reveal is that this is the case, because this is our biology. This is who we are as human beings.
Yeah, exactly. Who we were created to be by God.
Yeah.
It is all biology. And I love how the way he created us is super mixed with biology and neuroscience and everything. Women do not want to be the leader of a relationship.
No.
It is unattractive. We will lose our attraction for that man very quickly. I was only ever in relationships where I was the supporter, the provider. Like, what was I thinking? I have no idea. But yeah, women like to look up to a man. They like to respect a man. The fact that, like, I think it's important for for us to perceive a man as being a couple notches above us in several ways. That's what keeps the attraction alive. And we want to be led. We do want to submit. We primally want to submit. And that doesn't mean what a lot of people think it means.
Right.
I mean, if the man of the relationship is submitted to ultimately God, but even if you don't believe in God, to something higher than himself, a mission, then we should be able to trust him, to then submit to him and let him lead us on that path of life, because he is following the right thing. You know, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. I think one of the most profound things that I've saw or heard you say is that you've experienced so many men who have weak masculinity that you understand the power of a strong masculinity. So I found that to be like super true, right?
Yeah.
And so speaking of just masculinity, how do you think about it? How do you define it? And we'll start there.
So as far as masculinity, I talk about 13 different traits.
Yeah.
I call it my Kingmaker code. But it's traits like leadership, self-control, discipline, honor and respect, protection and provision, but also things like love, faith and growth, responsibility, competence, assertiveness. And so I think what I do with men is I help them redefine their vision first across all their areas of life: relationships, spirituality, physical health, nutritional health, finances, professional, all of the things that life is composed of, right? But then I take those traits and we actually try to operationalize them into specific areas of their life. So what I would say to one client would not be anything of the same thing that I would say to another client. And also, I think what a lot of people misunderstand about me is that feminine men are not coming to me asking for help. They are masculine men who are just kind of lost.
Right.
They're in disconnected marriages. They are lacking purpose or direction. They are just feeling mediocre about life. And so to give them direction again, because all men crave a mission. They want to chase something. And for that to be something healthy and fulfilling is the goal. So I try to do that with them. And then I hold them accountable, very, very accountable on a daily basis. I will say it's affected my dating life also because...
Say more.
So it's almost like I used to have no standards, none, like no standards. And now I have very high standards because of what I see and what I try to work with people, to get to achieve. It's almost made it really hard for me to date people because it's almost like if I see something that could look weak, I don't judge them by any means, but it makes it hard for me to see myself in that relationship, I guess. If that makes sense.
Yeah, because you've seen sort of the possibilities, what men are truly capable of. And so anything sort of below that standard is not what you're going to just, what's the word? Settle for. That's the word. Yeah. Which I think is totally good, totally cool.
Yeah.
Considering your past history and who you are now and affirming your values and what you want and who you want your kids to be around, even though they're pretty old now, but they still want to be around someone, who's going to bring value to their life, I assume, right?
Yeah,
so
definitely. I think that's important.
Yeah.
Very selective.
Yeah, dating's hard, though, for pretty much anyone. I mean, I'm not in the dating market anymore.
Yeah.
But my wife and I have a saying that, dating sucks until it doesn't.
That's true.
I mean, it's really pretty much anything, right? If you want to get good at anything, what do you have to do? You have to have some reps.
Reps, yeah.
Reps. And that doesn't mean you should sleep with everyone on the first fucking date. But
No.
that does mean that you have to go and talk to people. Like, speaking just from a male's perspective, a young man, like, we have to get really good at rejection. That's the only pathway forward. You have to go and just talk to people as much as humanly possible. Like, there's a saying with baseball players that apparently that is the sport that picks up the most chicks.
Oh, really?
But it's not true, because baseball is a game of failure And so we just try more than any other sport.
Okay.
So I'll talk to 150 girls in one night, and one of them will say yes.
Yeah.
But I might have success a lot because I talk to so many women, but my success rate is not high. It's just that I'm willing for them to say, no, I'm not interested. All right, sounds good. See you next time.
Yes, yeah, I love that. For two reasons. It increases your confidence
Mm-hmm.
by so much, because obviously reps increase your confidence and your competence, the confidence-competence loop, which I love. But also, I think I love rejection because it weeds out the things that are not aligned to who you are. Whether you consciously realize that that's what's happening at the time, or it's God's way or the universe's way of helping you out, I think rejection is really, really good. I'm not mad about rejection at all.
It's a very powerful tool. And then I think the important part about rejection is like you talk to someone and you maybe have a nice 4 or 5 minute conversation and then it just ends, nothing happens. And then maybe you go home for the night because that's all you could handle. And guess what? You wake up the next day. You didn't die.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's the powerful part of it. And then you realize,
Resilience.
oh, it's like, yeah, it sucked because you get rejected. That always sucks. Like
Sure.
someone didn't like you or didn't catch your vibe or whatever. I'm not saying that doesn't feel bad. Of course it feels bad. But you still woke up the next day.
Yeah.
And like, you're not dead. That's a cool thing. Try
Yeah.
again. And so I think for young men specifically in today's world, with the easy access to what we're talking about, OnlyFans, pornography, online dating, AI girlfriends.
Oh my gosh.
I could
It's
stay in
crazy.
my room all day long and can seemingly get everything that I think I need to be satisfied.
Totally.
And it's obviously not true. Relationships are the cornerstone of life. Like if you want to live a good life, you need real relationships in real time. And so we're not feeling like we can go out into the world and talk to someone because there's a lot of young men that I know who want to be great, but they don't know
Yeah.
where to start. Because I'm in the sports world a lot. So I don't see a lot of the sort of the other type of young men who's like struggling a lot. I know it's happening because I read it and think about it. But I see the sports guy who wants to be great,
Yeah.
but doesn't know if he should be his full self because is he going to get told he shouldn't be as much of a man? Is he
Exactly.
toxic? Can I talk to this girl at the gym? What if she films me? Like I really think she's cute though.
Yeah.
What if we're in the line at the coffee shop and I just want to say what's up? Like, but what if she turns around and gives me what if other people think I want to be my best self?
Right.
And so there's all these sorts of dynamics that both sides of the spectrum of men are feeling. But the most important part is that you cannot live a good life inside of your bedroom.
No, but that's what people want of men. I mean, porn is so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Porn is so bad. OnlyFans, all of those things will just lead to destruction. I think, I don't remember the numbers, but I know, what do they say about testosterone? It's like at the levels of like the past like 70 something
Super
year
down.
olds. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. Like, I think there's also a study that shows that most 20-year-olds and older teens have no intention of getting married anytime soon. Even dating, even having sex, right? Like,
I know.
I think girls are the problem more these days. Guys don't care about this stuff anymore because they can just, it's too easy to just stay in your room.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll get, I guess, a little bit personal. Like, I mean, I was in college. I graduated college in 2014. So obviously there was still access to porn. We obviously had the internet,
Yeah.
but it wasn't as prevalent as it was now. And the reason I got my shit together, the reason I started working out, the reason I started cleaning myself up is because I wanted to have sex with as many girls as possible.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay. Now, is that a good motivator for the rest of my life? No.
No.
But is it a good piece of activation energy to get me off of my ass, to get to the gym, to clean up, to fucking shower, to brush my teeth, to clean my hair? Yes.
Yeah.
And then I realized when I start doing that stuff that it just makes me feel better. I feel more confident as a human being when I walk the world, when I have good personal hygiene, when I'm eating well, when I'm moving well. Yes, the initial motivator was for me to go and have sex with girls because that
Yeah.
sounds awesome, right?
Sure.
But then it turns into something better than that. And I think it's okay for us to say that we can have that type of activation energy. Like when, for example, if people are chasing their dreams, right, it doesn't have to be this like intrinsic motivator right away. It could just be, I want to make fucking money.
Yeah.
And then that turns into, I really like doing this thing. And now it's an intrinsic motivator. But we can have that sort of activation energy. And so then I put myself in this situation now. I don't know if I would have done that stuff. I might have gotten caught in the trap because I can look at porn all day, and there's so many chicks that are super hot, and they're doing all these cool things that I wish people would do to me, but I can just get it here now in this thing. Why would I leave? Why would I go and face rejection when I can just get it right here in this short dopamine hit? So I understand the inclination to do it, but we have to encourage young men to go out and get rejected.
Yeah.
That's the most important part. And we can also be frank about what can motivate them. Dude, you want to go see a real pair of tits in real life?
Yeah.
That's way better, bro.
I totally agree.
You know what I mean?
Totally agree.
I don't know if that's like whatever, crass, but
no, I probably wouldn't have said that myself, but now, yeah, I definitely agree. Like I said, men need a mission, and we're just chasing fake missions at this point.
Yeah.
With all of the, I think some aspects of social media are really great because we give lots of value, but there are a lot of aspects of it that are really damaging to the soul.
Yeah.
For both men and women, clearly. But I think initially when you're young, to chase after those things is important because most people don't usually find purpose and fulfillment until they're in their 30s or 40s anyway. And it's just, I think it's supposed to be an evolving process.
Definitely is. I mean, like you, my life I didn't really find my true mission purpose till I had something horrible happen to me.
Yeah.
And so, but before that, I was doing stuff that I really liked. I was a baseball player, and then I became a professional wrestler, and like cool stuff, really cool.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
That's very cool.
Yeah. It wasn't exactly what I was probably meant to do on this world.
Yeah.
But it was what I wanted to do then, and it shaped me and molded me to who I am now. Because I mean, think of professional wrestling, I can probably talk well on a microphone, right? Because I had to do promos in front of people and all this stuff, and so doing a podcast seems easy.
Yeah.
Maybe people don't think I'm very good at it, but it seems easy.
You're great at it.
And so, yeah, it's just very interesting.
Yeah, so I think that's why, again, it's so important to know who you are, know yourself, as Socrates said. Because when you know who you are, even when you're young, when you have some idea of who you are and what you believe, you will say yes to the right things and no to the right things that you should be saying no to. And you'll stay on a path that, even though you don't know what the end of that path is, it will keep you aligned and you'll eventually hit where you're supposed to hit. I think it's really important, and I don't think that's taught enough.
Yeah, like just like seeing what you could potentially become based on the small reps you do today.
Yeah,
I think is very powerful. Anyways, another thing I heard you say that I felt was pretty cool was that you say that men don't need to be fixed; they need to be challenged, seen, and empowered. So, what does that mean? How are you empowering them? Things of that nature. So
one of the things I get a lot of pushback on is the fact that I'm a woman helping men. How in the world can I do that successfully? Why does it matter? If you think back to the way we were created by God as women and men, two genders, masculine energy, feminine energy, dancing together the way it's supposed to be, right? So obviously this is what works in relationships, romantic relationships, but it also works as a parenting relationship. If you think about it, girls are a lot of the time more drawn to their dads, boys to their moms. It also works in the type of thing that I'm doing with men. I think my feminine energy really inspires and helps men realize that they can be who they're supposed to be without any shame and without any judgment. I think they just, a lot of them, like I've said, are in really long marriages that have become the passive participant in those relationships. And, as we all know, women are full of masculine energy these days, hyper independence and not wanting to let go of the control that they think they should have, even though that's not what we were supposed to be. I don't know. I think having the feminine perspective really helps men. And I can tell you, not to brag or anything, because that's not what I'm doing, but my goal is to heal marriages. My goal is to help people enter into new relationships with the right tools after a divorce. My goal is to help men become better fathers, more intentional fathers. And I think they feel okay to do that with a woman helping them, because in general, women are just pushing men down and making them feel judged and ashamed, and toxic.
Toxic. Yeah.
Toxic.
What do you think of the phrase toxic masculinity?
So I think it doesn't exist. I think there are toxic people. And I think when you think about masculinity, yeah, you have both sides of the extreme are toxic, but masculinity is not toxic. I mean, you can have the what you would consider toxic masculinity, like that alpha male with the ego and the cockiness and, you know, the unstable mood. And then you can have the opposite also, which is also toxic, the really weak, passive, nice guy. Nobody wants to be a nice guy either. I think the middle ground of true traditional masculinity is very important. But again, we're discipling boys into being nice guys.
Yeah.
We truly are.
Yeah. The phrasing is wrong.
Yeah.
Because if I am a young boy and I have masculine energy, or I'm masculine because I'm a boy, and I'm inherently toxic no matter what I do, then what's the point?
Yeah, and that changes, it shapes the way you react to anything in life.
Of course.
It makes you silent.
Then I'm weak and I'm docile and I'm in a corner, and then nice gets confused with kindness, which is not the same
Not
thing,
the same thing.
not even close. And then all of these things get conflated. I mean, masculinity basically is like a hammer. And what can a hammer do? A hammer can build a house, or I can smash you in the head with a fucking hammer.
Yeah.
It's in the person who uses
Great
it.
analogy.
And so I think that's how we should be portraying it. Like, how are you going to use this tool that you have inside of you? Are you going to use it to build and to provide and to be of service to your community? Or are you going to go around smashing granny in the face with your hammer?
Right. Now, with that being said, I believe if we want to talk about toxic masculinity, we should probably talk about toxic femininity.
Sure.
Because that exists too.
You bet.
If you want to like put those together. I mean, I think women have become, you know, very toxic. I think narcissistic, antisocial personality disorder is like rampant right now. Women are hyper independent. They don't want to give anything over to a man. Like feminism truly ruined the family and femininity in general. I believe in women. I believe in women being powerful people, but not in the way that it has become. It's gone too far. I think we need to be lifting up men and believing in them again so that we can then blossom into what we were created to be, which is the feminine, nurturing, loving, supportive, you know, light that the man needs. So that's been taken away too.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I feel at my very best when I feel useful. And when I feel useless, that's when things become an issue.
Right.
And the woman in my life, my wife, can help me with that by just simply appreciating the fact that I'm trying to work as hard as humanly possible to provide for our family so that we can do cool shit or whatever it is, you know,
Exactly.
or that, you know, she doesn't have to work within the next 2 years and she can retire and all this type of stuff. And there doesn't need to be like this. Men don't need just like this constant need for appreciation and validation all the time. But if you come up to me like every 2 or 3 weeks and say, hey, Aaron, I just really appreciate what you're doing. Fucking let's go. I'll run through a brick wall. Fire me up.
Exactly.
That's what we need. And then like a lot of guys don't understand when they're looking for a woman, the number one quality you're looking for is peace.
Yes. Peace is, yes.
Like
Peace
when I
is-
come home or when I'm done with work, I just want to feel
You want a place to rest your
at
head.
peace.
and
Now, if
just
we have
be
2 or 3
yourself.
kids and they're all young, yeah, there's going to be Legos on the floor. Shit's going to happen. That's part of the great deal of having kids.
Yeah.
Right? But my wife is not causing that commotion.
Right.
I'm not walking through the door and she's not screaming at me, yelling at me to do the dishes. She's like, honey, welcome home. I've got some stuff ready, but we need to clean this stuff up because I haven't been able to do it today because whatever the kids.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Fucking
Yeah.
sounds awesome. Let's get it done. You know, I work from home most of the time, so it might not happen. But a lot of people do come home like that in that situation. But you understand sort of the vibe that I'm trying to create.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think women are the piece to a man's. Women's peace is the oxygen to a man's fire. And again, women are so defensive these days. It's hard for them to realize. Like that would be my message to women is to lift up your man, support him. Men like respect. more than love, even though men want love, of course.
Yeah.
But respect is more important than love, I think, for men. Well, it's the other way around for women. We like to be heard, valued, cherished, loved, seen. Women or men just want some respect and appreciation and peace.
Yeah, it's huge. Have you seen this conversation online? This woman versus bear situation.
Okay, I've heard of this, but I don't know. Tell me.
Okay, so the conversation, the question is, it got popular on this podcast called Whatever Podcast, and basically this guy does like a live stream dating podcast where he brings a bunch of people on, like 10 people, and they have conversations for like 7 hours. It's a very long show.
Oh, gosh.
It's supposed to be about dating, but it sort of dives off into a bunch of different topics. And one of the questions he always asks is, if you were stuck in the woods by yourself as a woman, would you rather come across a bear or a man?
A bear.
You pick a bear?
Only because.
I'm shocked by that answer.
Okay, but if I knew the man, but it could be.
You don't know the bear.
Guy.
You don't know the bear either.
I don't know. Gosh.
Think about it for a second.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I would like to say a man because he can protect me from the bear. But
right. So it's a random man and a random bear. You come across in the woods. Who would you rather? Who would you rather just spawn up? It's random.
Okay.
Totally random.
Okay.
In the woods.
I'll go with the man.
No, I don't want to sway your answer.
No, because even if he's a really creepy man who has bad intentions, I think I could change his mind.
You could also fight a man off more than you could fight a bear off.
Yeah.
Like the bear's gonna eat you.
I think I could defend myself.
You might be able to survive.
I could run away. I could try to climb up a tree or something.
Yes, of course. The chances of the random man being a bad man, there is a chance. It's not
There's a
high
chance,
chance,
yeah.
but it's there, right? And so when women answer this question on the podcast, I understand why they answer the way they do, because they have a similar, maybe abusive past, potentially like you do as well. And so they don't want that happening again, which is totally understandable. Like, what if I get the R word? I get raped, right? All these horrible scenarios initially pop into the woman's brain, and they don't want that to happen. And so they just like, whatever, the bear can just eat me, because that's better than having all these other horrible things happen to me that I might actually live through.
Yeah.
So I get the inclination to say bear. But then it sort of breaks my heart because we haven't done a good enough job as being great men as we could be to make society feel comfortable and safe around us, because there have been horrible men who do horrible shit.
Sure, but there are also horrible women who do horrible things.
Of course, but they're less likely to murder and kill and rape and all those types of things. Yeah. But then as the conversation proceeds on this podcast, you start to ask these women, who are the good men you've met in your life? They start to think about it. And then you ask them, how many men have you met in your whole life? And what percentage of them have been bad?
Oh, interesting.
So when you start to get deeper into it, now some people on this podcast have just had horrible, like almost all of their relationships have been bad, like horrible stuff. Like I feel so bad. But most of these women say, oh, like my dad was really good to me, and my first boyfriend was really nice, even though it didn't work out. And most of the guys that come up to me in person are really nice, even though I'm not interested. And so they start to break it down a little bit more, and then you understand, like, okay, the majority of men that I've come across haven't been bad.
Are good, yeah.
And so I think that sparks a good conversation. But it's interesting to hear, kind of like what you did, initially go to the bear because of potentially your past.
I've been followed before. I've had private investigators hired to with my experience with my girl's dad, I had a protective order against him because he was very threatening. He told me he had somebody sitting outside my house to murder me. So that's where my mind goes when I think about a guy in the woods.
Which is totally logical.
But at the same time, I am the biggest proponent for men that I know. So yeah. But then, it's kind of like, is it called Solomon's there's something called, I think it's called Solomon's something or other, where you're so good at guiding other people's lives, but then when you look inward to yourself, you do struggle. Kind of like why psychiatrists happen to be like the most depressed people around. So maybe that's what happened then.
Research, me search.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, it's very interesting. Any other thoughts on masculinity?
So I really want to be like part of this movement of awareness for why masculinity is so important and foundational. And I think we're at a good spot right now in the world because things have gotten so bad that we can actually turn it around. And so I just want to speak out more against that for that.
What would you say to women who constantly say the world would be better off without men? Do you hear that phrasing?
I don't know that phrase, but I can see people saying that. There are, I would say stop it, because you need men who, like, okay, men are the protectors. Who is going to build a city? What about infrastructure? What about, I think that women can be really good leaders. I do. But I think that we are very emotional creatures, and we might not be as good of a leader as a man. There's a reason why in the Bible the men are the leaders. It's the way it's supposed to be. I'm not saying that because I don't think women can be leaders. I feel like I'm a leader. But at the end of the day, we need men. We cannot survive in this world without men at all.
Yeah. Yeah, very true, obviously. Can I tell you what I think of when I think of masculinity, what I think like the ultimate sort of pinnacle of it is?
Yeah.
So I describe it as being a warrior poet.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
You know, because I think in one end, warrior, obviously pretty self-explanatory. Maybe not back in the day when warrior meant like slicing people's heads off, but like someone who's dangerous, someone who's competent, someone who's capable. I like the Dr. Jordan Peterson phrase of like, become the most dangerous man you can possibly become and then have it under voluntary control.
Yeah, it's the best quote ever.
Best. And people see that, hear that word dangerous, and they're like, well, what does that mean? I'm like, I'm fucking capable. I can do shit. You know what I mean? And so I like that warrior regard.
Yep.
I think that's important to develop, whether your physical body, all those types of things. You know, Scott Galloway, who talks a lot about men, says you should be able to walk into a room, and if shit goes down, you should be able to beat the shit out of her, fight anyone that happens. Now, maybe not everyone, right? Because maybe there's a tougher dude in there, which doing martial arts and training martial arts, there's always a tougher, stronger guy. But we can build that up. Like, you understand what that sort of means.
Yeah. So I love that. And this is what being meek means. People think that meekness is weakness, but that is what Jordan Peterson talks about. It's being so dangerous and capable, but being able to have self-control and only needing to be dangerous if you actually need to.
Yeah.
That's meek. That word has a massive misunderstanding.
Well, I'm glad you're bringing it back. Yeah, so that's the warrior side.
And then the poet.
And then the poet side, which I definitely had to learn sort of writing my vows for my wedding. But there needs to be a side of you that can express love, that can express beauty, that can tell the people in your life how much you love them. There has to be that side of you. And that's the poet side. There has to be, you know, my ability to express what my wife means to me, or what my parents mean to me, or my friends, or anyone in my life that has any sort of value. And I think that's really, really, really important. And both of those sides can be developed to sort of equate this warrior poet, this traditional man who has the ability to have a daughter and tell her at her dance recital, like, I fucking love you. That shit was awesome. And there's nothing I wouldn't do for you.
Yeah.
Or to your wife, or to whatever person in your life that's important to you. And we have to develop that side of ourselves as well. Because a lot of people do talk about like being vulnerable. And I think that's a very, very powerful trait. Not for everyone all the time, definitely not. But certainly for some people who you've cultivated the relationship with. Like, if I go on a first date with a woman and I start crying, no, that's unattractive.
Yeah, that's not
But
cute.
if I build a real relationship with a woman and she knows my true self, and I've done stuff to show my competence and my warrior side, then when I do have a really tough day and I tell her that I'm having a really tough day, she sees that full aspect of me and is more attracted to me in that regard, because I can show that vulnerable side to her. So it's really that it's a fine line, because you're gonna, in early relationship with men, you're gonna get it wrong, you're gonna falter, you're not gonna be able to express yourself in certain ways, but that's getting in the reps.
It is, and emotional intelligence,
One of your
vulnerability.
traits?
Yeah, it's one of my traits, and again, that's the one that I'm sure you can assume it gets the most pushback of all the traits.
Is what? Vulnerability?
Yeah, vulnerability. Because you have to be able to express, but you also have to be able to be a space where she feels that she can trust you to say things too, to be that open space, and then receive it and listen and, you know, be that rock for her. So, I think the thing with vulnerability, you know, because there are a lot of men who say that you cannot and should not be vulnerable with your wife. I don't agree with that whatsoever. I think it's really important because it establishes trust and real emotional intimacy. But I think it can be done the wrong way. I think the right way is to have it backed by a mission, a vision, a purpose. Because if you're just, I think without a vision or a purpose behind the vulnerability, you're just complaining and whining, and that's when it becomes unattractive, and where the leadership kind of weakens.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel that personally. Like I'm building a few businesses, you know, I'm an entrepreneur. And so some days I just feel like nothing is fucking working.
Yeah.
And I feel like shit.
Yeah.
And my wife will just see it on my face and she'll be like, what's wrong? I'm just like, I feel like nothing's working. You know, I feel like a fucking bum, you know? And that's the feeling that comes up.
Yeah.
Building businesses, people not interacting with the stuff, whatever the case may be. And that's me just like expressing some vulnerability to her. Like, it's just one of those days, you know?
I think that's important.
But it's because I'm just like on this mission to do whatever I'm trying to do.
To provide for your family.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but if I was just not doing anything,
yeah, that would be a different story.
then it's like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you frustrated about? Like,
Yeah.
nothing, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's important to make those types of distinctions. And that's why it's important to like be moving towards something. And that vision or mission or purpose or whatever it is can change throughout your life, especially if you're a young man.
Of course.
Like we talked about, whatever that activation energy might be. You want to get into the stock market because you want to make some money.
Seriously, I love it.
That's a good vibe. Yeah. We probably could talk about that for hours, but we are a stock market family.
Are you?
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. We should talk about this at
for
some
sure.
point.
But yeah, I mean, that's good. Anything else you want to say on that?
I don't think so. I just think this whole topic is really important. And again, we're at a point in society. I think Charlie Kirk taught us a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you love him or hate him, he taught us to be authentic and be able to have conversations and speak our beliefs. And I think if he was what we needed to spark some revival of both Christianity and masculinity, I think that's great.
Mm.
But even if for even people who don't agree on things, I think the point is healthy debate is really important. I think real topics are really important. This is like aside from masculinity, of course.
Go for it.
But yeah, I just think we're at a crucial time in society. And I guess you could say that about all the times in society.
Yeah.
But there have been societies that have fallen, like Rome, for the reasons that we are kind of experiencing the past 50 years.
Yeah.
And so I think we're at a turning point where we can either fail or succeed as a nation and as a world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, because people talk a lot about like having empathy. I think that's the wrong word. I think it's more tolerance. Democratic societies are built on tolerance.
Yeah.
You know? Because I can be empathetic really for persons that I kind of know a little bit, but it's hard for me to be empathetic on a totally on a situation I'm unaware of. I can have total sympathy and feel bad, but to put myself completely in their shoes is a bit challenging. But I can be tolerant of those person's ideas and beliefs as long as they're not like destructive.
Sure.
Right? As long as they're conducive to a flourishing society.
Yeah.
Then I want to be tolerant to those ideas so I can at least hear them, and then I can be curious about them, and then potentially maybe learn something. Maybe my mind doesn't get changed, but I can actually see that person as being made in the divine image of God, which is like super important. And then I still might not agree. Fuck them. Okay, but at least I see them as a real person.
Yeah, there are things that I will never agree with. But again, if we seek to understand, I think that is what's tearing everything apart. Is because I mean, there's so much violence.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much violence. Obviously, I'm not going to get into politics here, but I think if we can seek to understand it, the violence would lessen.
Yeah.
See people as people.
Absolutely. You're starting your own podcast, you said?
I'm starting my own podcast.
It'll probably be
in December.
In December, so it'll be out by the time this episode drops.
Cool.
So where should people go if they want to check that out?
So my LinkedIn is at Jennifer Jehl. That's where I kind of handle most of my business. But I'm on Instagram too at jen.jehl, my last name. And it will be on YouTube, and it'll be a live stream as well on LinkedIn. So
rock and roll. Welcome to the podcast world. I mean, you have one that you co-host already.
I do.
But this is going to be your podcast.
Yeah, it's going to be mine. It's going to be something that I get to build and cultivate, and I'm excited.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
I love having a podcast.
Yeah, you're good at it.
Thanks.
I need to learn some things from you.
Well, just like we talked about, it's a lot of reps, right? This is episode 442.
That's crazy.
I've deleted almost 50 episodes because I had a weird thing happen,
okay.
Which I could tell you about later. I've talked about probably too much on the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe 500 episodes or something like that.
Wow.
So
that's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild. Because like the one I co-host, I've only done 30 episodes of, and it seems like we've been doing that for like forever.
But I mean, you do one a week, right? So it's been
Yeah.
30 weeks. So
Yeah.
that's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like 4 or 5 episodes a week.
That's crazy.
I
love
started off with every other week and then just sort of ramped up, turned pro,
Yeah.
all that stuff. But I found you on LinkedIn, so that's where people should go if they want to find you.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about the stock market, but
I love the stock market.
okay, so what like is there something that you think people should buy right now as we wrap up because I got to let you go?
No, I'm not saying that.
You're not saying that?
No, but I do lots of long term. I do lots of short term, but I
Okay.
love I trade at least one option a day.
Okay.
That's what I really love to do, and it's what I'm like trying to be better at. So I've taken options flow classes. I can read options flow now. It's fascinating to me. Like one of my non-negotiables for my day is to at least trade one option.
Beautiful. You got to talk to my mom.
Okay.
She's obsessed.
I love it.
She's obsessed. Anyways, okay.
Women are better traders than men.
Yeah, well, I made some trades yesterday, and so that was good. But yeah, sweet. I love this chat.
Same.
Thank you for coming on. Nice to meet you.
You too.
In
Thank
person
you so
too.
much for having me.
I felt like it was a good vibe in person. And yeah, that's it. That's all I got. So thank
All right.
you.
Yeah, thank you for having me so much.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for tuning into that episode. And if you enjoyed it, click right here for another full-length episode of the podcast. And please don't forget to subscribe. But most importantly, above all else, please take good care of yourselves and others. And I'll see you next time. Lots of love. Cheers.